Hi, it's T. Carlson here, and as you know, I'm definitely an old school gamer, and I love to go back and revisit a lot of the classics at times. On the Nintendo Switch, if you're an online member, they have those various older games for older systems you can go back and play as a part of your subscription. So I thought it would be a fun time to play through EarthBound again. EarthBound, or Mother 2 as it was known in Japan, is a classic RPG that's noteworthy for its crude sense of humor and being set in a modern American-style setting, which is certainly a far cry from the more medieval, dystopian, steampunk-type settings we get in a lot of RPGs. So, how does EarthBound, or Mother 2, whatever name you prefer to call it by, how does it measure up all these years later? Like I said, I did have a chance to play through the game. The basic story revolves around you playing as a young boy who, when he has some chance encounters with extraterrestrial beings, decides to set off on a journey around the world, gathering companions and going to fight against Gygus, the ultimate evil. Along the way, he meets several companions and allies, but also several enemies, including some very fearsome ones and some that are a little more on the comedic side. I mean, this might be the only game I've ever encountered where you fight against an evil statue that represents the evil part of your mind, but also fight against hippies and living piles of vomit. As you can tell, this game certainly has a crude sense of humor, and the offbeat, quirky, American-style setting, which again is more in a modern world, is definitely a far cry from your average RPG. The battle system is pretty standard as far as RPGs go. I would probably say this battle system has the most in common with the Dragon Quest series, but even then it's still slightly different. One thing I do like about this game is that if you do receive a wound in battle that will kill your character, it is a rolling HP meter, and if you can win the fight before the meter runs out, you actually survive the fight with 1 HP, or however much you had on the board when you defeated the final enemy in that battle. And you do have to take strategy into account when it comes to these fights, especially as you get more characters, and each one has their own strengths and weaknesses. For instance, Ness, the main character, is sort of a jack of all trades. He has some offensive magic as well as some healing magic, whereas you get a character like Jeff, who cannot use magic at all, but he can use a lot of sophisticated gadgets and weaponry that the other party members can't. And then you have other people who, of course, are magic users. It is an interesting game, and you have these characters that have their own sets of skills and abilities and their own sets of equipment that they can gather throughout the journey. It is a fun game, and it's certainly very long and keeps you on your toes. There are certainly a few puzzles you are going to have to solve along the way, but overall, it always manages to feel somewhat quirky and humorous and never laborious, which is a good thing when it comes to RPGs. That said, I do have a few minor complaints with the game. The first one of which being the inventory system, which is pretty poorly designed, and it really limits how much of everything you can carry. In a lot of RPGs, if you get multiples of an item, it only fills up one slot in your inventory. Unfortunately, in this game, every single item is one slot in your inventory, so you're going to run out of space really fast. On top of that, to make things even worse, each character has their own inventory as opposed to a party-wide inventory like you would get in a lot of other RPGs, and this makes things very complicated. Additionally, key items and equipment don't get their own separate section, so this means that there's certain items that might be one-time use only, and then the game will not let you throw them away even if they have no further use. Fortunately, some of these items can be stored away. Your main character has a sister who works for a company that handles things like that, so you can have items picked up and delivered as need be, and that helps you get rid of some of the clutter in the inventory, but you will find yourself running out of slots pretty quickly, and it becomes especially annoying when there are a few moments in the game where you're going to lose a certain member of the party for a while. Another issue I have is how the game treats death. Obviously, in any RPG, you're going to get killed, and you're going to be revived and have to go back to fight again. Now, in most RPGs, when you die and you come back, you're fully healed and you've lost half of your money as a result of losing. Now, in this game, only your main character comes back to life. No one else does, and he comes back with 0 magic, which means there's no way that he can just heal and life up the other members of the party who died. So this means you have to go find a hospital in which to revive your characters, and this costs money. And on top of all that, sometimes you're going to be far away from a hospital and there's not going to be any practical way to heal your part. Later in the game, you do get magic spells that do allow you to revive dead allies. Unfortunately, you don't get these until much later in the game. So again, all of your characters should have come back to life with full magic when you got a game over. I don't really know how they botched this, but that is one of the biggest problems I have with the game. Another minor issue too is there's no run button. The original Mother on the NES, which of course didn't get released in America initially, but is now playable in the Switch NES library of games, had a run button. I don't know why that wasn't included here. There is an item called a skip sandwich you can eat, and that'll let you run faster temporarily, but it doesn't last very long. Overall, though, I do have to say, despite my complaints, EarthBound, or Mother 2, again, whatever name you want to refer to the game as, is certainly a lot of fun. This is essentially the game that the original Mother should have been, and despite a few flaws here and there that certainly should be corrected if the game ever gets a remake, I love this game. I love coming back and revisiting it. It's humorous, and it actually manages to be a lot of fun for what it is. How about you? Have you played EarthBound? Is it one of your favorite RPGs on the Super Nintendo? Is it one of your favorite games of all time? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content because I'm always posting new videos. And make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.